Yo, what up, what up? It's Big Brandon Carter. I get a lot is, yo, Brandon, how can I become more disciplined? How can I exhibit more control over myself? Discipline is basically doing what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it, regardless of whether you feel like it or not. Accomplish any goal that's worthwhile, you need a tremendous amount of discipline, especially in bodybuilding, especially if you want to put on some muscle mass or if you want to get ripped, things of that nature. Sometimes that requires more discipline than anything else for many people because it's physical. It's physically painful. And that's the beauty of fitness. Anybody who's built an impressive physique has had to utilize a tremendous amount of discipline in order to accomplish that goal. When you're working out, when you're training, when you're eating right, being disciplined in that regard will translate to all areas of your life. Not just aesthetics, you know what I'm saying? It's not just how you look. It's actually like you build a certain amount of character. So accomplishing that goal of building an impressive physique will make it easier for you to accomplish any other goal in your life once you've done it, you know, because not only have you built muscle, but you've also built the discipline and the character required to accomplish goals in other aspects of your life. But if you're not very disciplined initially, like if you're not a disciplined person, if you don't have a lot of self-control to start with, how do you build that discipline? The answer is simple, really. You have to just fucking do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it, regardless if you feel like it or not, all right? Just do it. Just do what you're supposed to do. Just be more disciplined. The more you use your discipline, the stronger it gets. It's like any other muscle. It's just like a bicep or your pectoral muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. That might sound a little too simplistic, but you gotta understand that once you build the habit of being disciplined, it becomes automatic. It becomes easier, you know? Like the very first time you have to use your discipline to do something, it's hard. It becomes easier each time because you build the habit. The habits are what control your life. The habits you build will shape your destiny. And you have to build the habit of becoming disciplined. Let me explain to you how habits work. Anytime you do something new, the first time is difficult. You have to learn how to do it. You actually have to learn how to do it. So your brain creates a neural pathway, right? And every time you do that same thing, the neural pathway becomes stronger. And then with repetition, you keep doing it, with more repetition, that neural pathway becomes stronger each time. For instance, like if you see a baby learning to walk, right? This baby doesn't really know shit about anything, all right? Initially, it's really hard for him to first just balance on two legs. Then he has to balance on one to put the fucking other leg in front of him, and then balance on that, and then put the other leg in front of him. It takes as you see, if you ever taught a baby how to walk, or seen a baby learn how to walk, this guy's gonna fall down fucking a million times. Every time he's doing it, his brain is creating these neural pathways, and then he learns how to do it. And he just learns, you know, to the point where the neural pathways become so strong that walking is automatic. And that's why most of us now don't have to think about walking. We just do it. It's something that's automatic. We can do other things. It's something that's automatic. It's become a habit. Walking has become a habit because the neural pathways in our brains have become so strong. Ever since we were babies, we've been building the neural pathways that allow us to walk with ease, not even have to think about it. Our brain has acclimated itself to walking and taking steps, so it becomes easy for us. But that's just an example. It's like that with everything. See, anything you do, you're gonna be building the habit. You're gonna be building these neural pathways in your mind. That's like Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's disease is basically the erosion of neural pathways. And that's why you just forget shit. You just forget normal shit. Anyway, I digress. Every time you use the discipline, you build that neural pathway that will make discipline more automatic next time. Let's say you don't want to go to the gym, but you do that shit anyway. And then when you do it, your brain has built a neural pathway, and you have strengthened that neural pathway of going to the gym whether you feel like it or not. And every time you don't go to the gym, just because you don't feel like it, you come up with some bitch ass excuse, you also that becomes a habit too. So you build your bitch neural pathways, right? So being a bitch next time will be easier. See, just like being disciplined is a habit, being a bitch is a habit too. So that's why it's so important not to be a bitch when the situation arises. When you come into a situation where you can act like a bitch, or you can be disciplined, you have to choose being disciplined to build the discipline, to build that neural pathway, right? The last thing you want to be doing is training yourself to be a bitch. Anything you do becomes a habit, whether good or bad. Like for instance, I manage a restaurant in Queens on the weekends, right? It's like a bar restaurant, you know, and they had some live music playing, and and some guy, he was in there with a bunch of guys, and he was fucking drunk. And he had like a burger from outside from somewhere else. He brought a burger. And obviously you can't bring a fucking burger in my bar, man. What the fuck is wrong with you? But like, I was apprehensive about approaching him because it was around close to St. Patrick's Day. Him and all his friends were fucking drunk, and there was a bunch of guys, and they were big guys, and I was watching them because they were being fucking rowdy initially, right? And I thought that they might be an issue. Now this guy's eating a fucking burger from outside, and I'm like, for a second, I thought about being a bitch. And I thought about, you know what? I'm not gonna confront this guy and tell him to stop eating his burger, right? I'm just gonna let this one slide. But then I thought about it. I thought about if I bitch up in this, if I act like a fucking bitch in this situation, it'll be easier for me to act like a bitch the next time a situation like this is presented to me. So instead, I chose the fucking high road. I rode up on him and all his boys, and I told them, yo, you can't eat these burgers in here, man. Y'all gotta go outside. And they looked at me for a minute. They sized me up, because they weren't like little guys, and it was more of them than me. And they were fucking drunk. And I knew it. I thought it was gonna be a problem, but he looked at me, and you know, whatever, it was cool. They went outside with their fucking burgers. But I say all that to say this. If I could have just been a bitch in that situation, let them eat their burgers, it would have been over in a minute, fine, it would have been fine, you know, they would have got done with the burger. But then, you know, like, bravery is a habit too, you know? Being brave, being courageous is a habit. So like, that was an instance for me to use my bravery. You know what I'm saying? Or to be disciplined, right? Because my job that's part of my job, to make sure people don't bring in outside food. That's what I'm supposed to do, whether I want to or not. And I didn't want to do it, but I did it, you know? And the next time it's gonna be easier, blah, 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 blah. But if I didn't, the next time it would have been harder. See, everything you do counts, man. Everything you do counts. It's just like smoking, right? Take smoking, for example. I actually smoked for over 10 years, man. I started smoking when I was 14. I didn't know no better, and I got hooked on this shit, right? But here's the thing, like I've read a lot about addiction. Physical addiction of nicotine only lasts about 72 hours. Once the nicotine is out of your bloodstream, you're no longer physically addicted. But what's happened is you built these neural pathways, right? So like, now you've conditioned yourself to smoke I conditioned myself to smoke when I first wake up. Then I also conditioned myself to smoke after every meal, or smoke after something stressful. So it wasn't a physical, so after 72 hours, it's not really a physical addiction, right? It's more of a habit. I built these habits for 10 years, so the neural pathways for smoking are strong. It's more of a mental habit than it is a physical condition, but it's strong. A study showed that these habits can be just as strong as a physical addiction, and obviously just as harmful, you know? So quitting smoking required a ton of discipline initially, right? The first day was really hard. Every time I didn't smoke, it got easier. But even still to this day, right? Still sometimes want to smoke after a meal, right? Because the neural pathways are still in my mind. But every time I don't smoke, I create a new neural pathway. And it's just like that with anything you want to do. If you want to form a habit of eating healthy, then you just have to do it more. And it's going to be hard at first, just like it was hard for me to stop smoking at first. But the more you eat right, the more you build your neural pathways, and the habit becomes stronger and stronger and stronger until it becomes automatic. Like for me, it's nothing to eat right, to eat healthy, right? It's automatic. It's automatic. It's all because I've been doing it for so long. It's automatic for me to work out every day. I built the habit, you know. Initially it was hard, but it becomes easier. And that's what but you have to be careful, because the opposite is true. The more you bitch up and don't do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it, that becomes a habit too. And you have to be real careful about this shit, you know? You have to be real careful about this shit, because everything you are doing, you are building neural pathways and neural associations in your mind, and you are building that habit, whether good or bad. So you have to watch everything you do. Everything counts. You understand what I'm saying? Basically what I'm saying is, if you want to be more disciplined, you have to work. You have to be more disciplined more often. Discipline is just like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it will become, and the easier it will be for you to use it next time. Yeah, there's a few books you should read if discipline is an issue for you. One is called Willpower. I forget the name of the authors, but I will put a link below in the description where you can check it out. Willpower is a really good book. It's really interesting. It's fast. Authors did a lot of research on what makes some people more disciplined than others, and they came to some really fascinating conclusions. So you should definitely check it out. It helped me. Like, no one was in that book helped me. There's another book called Habit. I forget the name of the author. I'll put a link in the description. And in this book, Habit, the author also cites a lot of studies and explains how you condition your mind to build habits and how you can replace old habits, replace bad habits like being a bitch, smoking, what have you, with new habits. And he goes into great detail about how to make that happen. So those are 2 books you should read if discipline is an issue for you. While you're at it, while you're buying books, you might as well check out my books, Ultimate Cuts, 7 Secrets on How to Burn Fat Fast as Hell. It's one of the most highly reviewed nutrition books on Amazon.com. So check it out, all right? If you're a motherfucker who doesn't read books and you're not going to read those books, I will sum up everything in both of those books with one statement. It's by ancient Chinese philosopher. He said, watch your actions, they become your habit. Watch your habit, they become your character. Watch your character, becomes your destiny. Hope that helps.